Hello students, this is Vivek Srivastava sir, and we are going in chapter number 3. The chapter is Delhi Sultanate, and we have already discussed 2 or 3 videos in this chapter. So that is the next video, and that is related to administration under the Khiljis and Tughlaqs. Okay, so beta, in this video, we are going to know that what was the administrative system in their Khiljis and Tughlaq dynasty. So, beta, see it from your book, page open number, open page number 28, and see that what was written there, and give you explanation for that base. Okay, beta. So, first topic to discuss here is administrative assistant. Then what was administrative assistant at the time? See, the Khiljis and Tughlaq fought many battles and expanded their rule to a vast part of the subcontinent. Okay, as we we are knowing in the last video that Khiljis and Tughlaqs have fought many battles from north to south. Okay, so they grew up their administrative system. Okay, see, so it was not easy to run sultanate spared and wide. If you have a long area, that is not possible to control over at a single time everywhere. Okay, so the sultans need loyal and dependable administrator to unite and govern their territories. Therefore, instead of appointing nobles and chieftains as governors, the earlier sultans, especially Iltutmish, started the practice of appointing special slaves called bandagans. Okay, they are known as bandagans for military services. It means the work for bandagans was to work with military system, and the bandagans were also trained to discharge administrative duties. They were trained for the administrative duties also. Okay, the bandagans were dependent upon the sultans who had purchased them and were hence loyal and trustworthy. Okay, the bandagans that were bought by the sultans, and because they are bought by the sultans, they were loyal to their sultan, their king, and they work as they want, and they were trustworthy also. The sultans were advised that a worthy and experienced slave is better than a son. At the time that slogan was running there, the sultan said that instead of a son, if you have a better slave and trustworthy slave, then no need to shun. Okay. The practice of appointing bandagans continued during the reigns of Khilji and Tughlaqs. In addition, the sultans started appointing ordinary people. The sultans at the high places, ordinary peoples to the high places, high positions such as generals and governors. However, this practice had one disadvantage. There was one disadvantage also. The bandagans or the dependents of the sultans were loyal only to their masters and not to their successors. The problem was that if I have bought you as a slave, that at that time you are only responsible to me, not my upcoming generation, my successors, my son, their son, their son, their son. Clear? So that was the big problem. This often led to the conflict between the old and the new nobility as time when a new sultan assumed power. It means when my son is going to be a new sultan, then you will revolt as a noble, as a slave, as a bandagan. Clear? So next beta, governance. What was the governance there? Delhi sultans divided their empires into smaller areas of different sizes called iqtas and appointed military commanders as governors of the iqta. The whole empire was divided into iqtas, small parts, okay, and each and every iqtas has a governor, okay, and that is known as iqtidar or mukti. Okay? They were known as iqtidar or mukti. Had to provide military and help the sultan and time of wars. What was the work of iqtidars or muktis? They had to provide military services when the war began. Clear? Each iqtidar had to maintain the troops and horses and specified by sultans. It means if you are hiring horses or slaves or you are presenting your army, then you have to contact with sultan. Clear? He also maintained law and order in the iqta. One main work was control the law and order. Okay, the system should to be run properly. He collect revenue from his iqta. One more work was to collect revenue from iqtas related to him. The cost of administration and gets his own salary. So the question will be, why he collects revenue? Why the iqtidar collects revenue? Because from that revenue he will get his salary and he will maintain his iqta, his part. Clear? The sultans kept a check on the iqtidars to keep them under control. The office of the iqtidar was mostly not hereditary. The office of the iqtidar was not hereditary. It was also permanent, as the sultan could take back iqta from him whenever he pleased. One more thing, it was not a permanent job. If the sultan is not happy with you, he can take your part, your iqta from your hands and it will provide to the other hands. The iqta was assigned for a short period of time and iqtidars was transferred frequently. That power was provided by the king for a short time and it was a transferable job. The job of iqtidar was a transferable job. Okay, sultans appointed accountants to keep a watch over the functions of iqtidars. There are some you can say that this official that was what have to be done and what has already done in the iqta and how much money has been expended by that iqtidar. So there was a officer known as accountant placed by the sultan. The accounts check the amount of revenue that iqtidar collect to ensure that they are not collecting revenue more than what had been decided by the state. One more thing, the revenue was decided by the state and being an iqtidar, you have to collect only that money that had already decided by the sultan. Okay, so the administration was working in this way there, that no iqtidar can be a thief, okay, can get money outside. Okay beta. So they also made sure iqtidars maintained the required number of soldiers. One more thing, there was some required number of soldiers that is for wars and it was decided by the sultan, and being an iqtidar you have to keep that number positive. Clear? Now the last from this topic will be the land revenue. What was the land revenue system there? See, under Alauddin Khilji, the functions The fixation and collection of land revenue was brought under the control of the state. It means when Alauddin Khilji was a king, that work of collecting land revenue was done by chieftains or samantas who were hereditary landowners. They were hereditary landowners were dissolved from imposing taxes. Rather, they were also forced to pay tax to Sultan. The agriculture land was measured and revenue was fixed again. Clear? The record of measured land was kept carefully into account. Alauddin Khilji imposed three main taxes on his people. There were three main taxes. The first was Kharaj tax. Kharaj or tax on cultivation land. Kharaj was a tax that was taken by Alauddin Khilji on the land that he is cultivating right now, which was about 50% of the peasant's total produce. Okay, it means during a season you have produced whatever money you have to provide 50% to Sultan, means Alauddin Khilji. Next, curry or house tax. Kharaj, curry was a tax related to house, and the next was chari, that is pasture tax. There are only three taxes in the Alauddin period. Okay beta, that is all for today's video. I hope you all enjoyed this video. If you enjoyed, then please like, share, and may possible subscribe my channel also. Thanks for watching the video. Have a nice day.